This is A's Cast Live, your comprehensive look at the Athletics.
Leaping the ball, it's gone. A towering drive into center field by Rooker.
And 29 other MLB clubs.
A judgy blast. All right. Here comes the judge. Swung on. Hit high. Hit deep to right. Away back into the second deck.
Bobby Witt Jr. becomes the first shortstop in Major League history to have two 30-30 seasons.
Shohei Ohtani starts the 50-50 club.
Join us as we take you inside the baseball universe, from humidors to walk-off dingers to Hall of Fame talk. We have you covered. Spend your afternoon with us, only on A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
Good morning, everybody. And as you watch this a little bit later, it'll be good afternoon. Happy Friday. It's been a while since we have been able to reach out and talk to you. It is A's Cast Live. Commander, how are you?
I'm good. Just, another day. Some stuff's happened this week. It's a big deal.
Oh,
big awards.
You've been talking about storm. Everybody's talking about storm watch. I keep going outside. Not a drop. Not a drop. When is this atmospheric whatever river
bomb
coming?
Cyclone?
When's it coming? I've been waiting.
Well, our luck, it's going to come tonight when San Jose State takes on Reno, or takes on UNLV. Number 24 UNLV. Back-to-back weeks, Sparty takes on ranked teams from the Mountain West.
Well, it could be a rough 24 hours weather-wise for yours truly. As yes, I will be at San Jose State against UNLV tonight. And then we'll make the trek up to Berkeley for the big game tomorrow, Cal and Stanford. Could that be 2 games in less than 24 hours sitting in the rain watching what could be bad college football?
Cal looking to be bowl eligible. Would be only the second team in California behind San Jose State that's bowl eligible. Stanford stinks, who San Jose State plays next Friday on Black Friday. And so Cal has a chance to be bowl eligible. Stanford has a chance to stick it to Cal. And they would be, 5-5?
You're bearing the lead here. It could be bad football less than 24 hours and pouring rain. That could be rough. We got a great show for you today. I get how the business of baseball can be something that's not overly exciting to a lot of people. But how you view Major League Baseball games and what is going to happen in Major League Baseball is something that could be helping the direction of where the NBA, that path that people take, the NBA and the NHL, on how you view games. So it does really affect all of us, the fans. How are we going to see these games? As cable continues around the country to struggle, you got 7 teams right now that are going to have Major League Baseball take over. How you view the games is the easiest way to put it. Turn the heater off, would you? Evan Drellich, who I can't wait. His role is so evolved in our game, as he was a Houston Chronicle writer and covered really the scandals of the Houston Astros, has evolved into this national baseball writer. Now with The Athletic, is going to join us at 10 a.m. He's done a great article, very extensive, about how things are going to change for all of us, and it will affect us. Because once our organization makes the move to Las Vegas, it's at exact same time that baseball deals are up nationally. And baseball is going to have to figure out one way for all of us baseball fans to watch the 30 teams and eventually 32 teams. And it's a great article talking about how, baseball shares 48% of all of its local stuff. I didn't know that.
I did not either.
No, I mean, do we really care? But when you start talking about tickets and merch and everything, baseball shares, all the teams share only 48%. The rest goes into your pocket. That's why we always talk about the teams with the bigger cable deals have such an advantage over everybody else. And fans love to applaud these teams, and they like to talk about, look how much money they're spending. Well, they're spending money really from their cable deal. The rest is all gravy. Well, you got 7 teams this year that have no cable deal. And baseball's putting on. So we're going to bring on Evan Drellich to kind of educate us on what the future is going to look like as the national deals will expire. A lot of the local deals will go away. So baseball owners, and this is going to be a tough one for them, they're going to have to agree on something that works for everyone, because they have really navigated essentially as Hans. Each one's like 30 Han Solos. It's all about me. What's best for me? Right?
Good character choice.
There's no I in team, but don't forget there's an M and an E for me. Why do I care about Kansas City when I'm the New York Yankees? Why do I care about Tampa? Or why do I care about the Miami Marlins if I'm the Boston Red Sox or I'm the Philadelphia Phillies? If I'm the Dodgers, why do I care about San Diego and Arizona? I'm about me. Well, baseball owners are going to have to do what NFL owners did a long, long time ago. We're all going to have to hold hands, guys, and sing Kumbaya and do this together. Isn't it amazing? And I am holding Cody's hand. Isn't it amazing that the NFL did all of this years and years and years and years ago, and they flourished? Like you weren't even born yet. But the NFL owners said to the players, you know what? Screw you. And they played with scabs. They broke the players' union, which baseball wasn't willing to do. That's right. Do you remember San Francisco 49er fans? Way back when Bill Walsh ran the option in the National Football League. He had an option quarterback. They had scabs. And what happened? Players sat. Players didn't want to lose money, which always happens. And players started breaking the picket lines. And next thing you know, they broke the union. Baseball had that opportunity to do it. Didn't have the gumption because the owners weren't strong enough. They caved, and we still have the same system. And every single time we have an agreement that's up, we have a major fight. The NFL owners, they broke the players. And they banded together, and the game has flourished because of that. So we got some big decisions to make. Evan Drellich is going to join us coming up here at 10 a.m. And our favorite thing, one of our favorite things, the Hall of Fame ballot has come out. I asked you the question, and you didn't have the guts to have the answer. If Fernando Rodney goes into the Hall of Fame, will he go in as an A?
I think I remember him more as a Ray, or is he a Devil Ray?
He'd be a Ray.
Yeah.
He's not old enough to be a Devil Ray.
So, I mean, when I saw that, I'm like, well, he's played for, does he just go in with an MLB cap on?
You don't put him in as an A?
It's like Edwin Jackson. If Edwin Jackson made the Hall of Fame, what cap does he wear in? Is he a Dodger? Is he an A?
You know we love to talk Hall of Fame. There is one guy. There's only one guy that you're like, oh, yeah. I mean, come on. He's one of the greatest players to have ever lived. Was his first game, I believe his first game was against the A's.
Yes. That's like every Mariners game is against the A's.
And Dave Niehaus had the legendary call as he threw out, it was Terrence Long at third base.
Yeah.
And he has the legendary call of Ichiro throwing him out at third. It was just a laser. And he said in the very first game, it's like something out of Star Wars. Ichiro was absolute greatness. It was unbelievable. I got to be in Japan with the A's in 2019, and it was Ichiro's retirement, and it was one of the most special things that I've ever seen. You saw a country paying tribute to their hero. We see it in this country. We've had great send-offs, right? But those are cities saying goodbye to a player. Even though, when Cal Ripken Jr. came through Oakland, gave him the big bottle of wine and all that, and, Derek Jeter, Mariano Rivera, and that kind of stuff. I think the first one that really people will remember was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Everybody was giving Kareem, rocking chairs and stuff like that. But this was a nation. This was a country saying goodbye to Ichiro. And one of the reasons why we were there was the relationship between Bob Melvin and Ichiro. because they developed this bond while he managed Ichiro in Seattle. A lot of people didn't realize how connected Ichiro and Bob are, and their wives, and Ichiro down below after the game waited. They had a private ceremony, waited for Bob Melvin to come over, and then I was on the air from the Tokyo Dome. It was really early in the morning here back in the Bay Area. And I'm filling time. We're waiting. Where is he? Finally, he emerges from the dugout. And it was like the Olympics. In like the Olympics, the opening ceremonies and all the flashing and all the lights and everything, that's what it looked like. And Ichiro came out and he walked around the stadium and the place went berserk. And it just wasn't Tokyo. It was the nation saying goodbye to their hero. Ichiro was badass, man. He's one of the greatest players of all time. His skill set, we've never seen anything like it. I mean, he had like the softball, like if you ever watch the playoffs, the college playoffs in softball, the left-handed hitters are slapping it. They're halfway out of the box and they're down to first base. He had the ability to do that. He had the ability to hit the ball anywhere. He had the ability to have power. He was a tremendous base runner. He had a rocket of an arm. Ichiro could do everything. One of the greatest hitters. He's one of the greatest bat-to-ball guys we have ever seen. Welcome to Cooperstown, Ichiro. Everybody else will be interesting. I personally, the kid from Vallejo, CC Sabathia, we don't have a vote. I definitely want to get into that a little bit today because I don't know what the Baseball Writers Association is anymore. That is a legit question because as we talk about the business of baseball changing with television and how you view it, why we created A's Cast? Well, because things were changing. We wanted to give you a video and an audio option. It's like funny when I talk to people today, they still it's going to take some time for people to realize, well, by 2028, you're not going to be really talking so much about cable. We don't know. We'll ask Kevin Drellich. But, things have changed. And, in the Bay Area, we've got Martin Gallegos, we got John Shea, and we got Susan Slesser. We're a major market, folks. Had 2 teams, and there's really only 3 writers. And we know from the teams that come in from out of town, they may have 1 writer, 2 writers. Where is this big? Who are these people? And how many are them just hangers on that over the years you applied, you got in, you had the service time, but you really don't work in baseball anymore and you're voting? Because if there's anything from the awards that there's one award that I'm going to dispute, but pretty much everything else went chalk. I mean, obviously, Aaron Judge was going to win the American League MVP, another massive year. Jake Peavy yesterday out over his skis on MLB Network saying that potentially he'll be the greatest Yankee of all time. It's like, whoa. Peeve dog, slow your roll.
Well, shots fired at A-Rod.
You ever heard of George Herman Ruth?
What about the Mick?
Gehrig?
DiMaggio?
I don't know, man.
Costanza?
You're gonna say Aaron Judge, the greatest Yankee of all time? Guy can't even hit my weight in the postseason, let alone his. So slow down on that. But obviously he was gonna win that.
He won it unanimously, right? Didn't he get all 30 votes?
Yeah, to both of them, right?
Yeah, Ohtani too.
Ohtani, there was no shocker. How are you not voting for Shohei Ohtani? Like, what case? Who would you make a case for that you would not vote for a guy who just was 50-50 and, Mookie Betts had timeout, Freddie Freeman had timeout. I mean, he really carried the load. He had to go to leadoff. How would you not vote for him?
The only guy that you could make a small argument for, and he wasn't going to win, was Lindor. But if he didn't start the year so poorly, he might have had a better shot. But Ohtani went 50-50, first ever DH to win the MVP, only the second player ever to win the MVP in both leagues, behind only Frank Robinson, Hall of Famer. So Ohtani did all kinds of things this year that we haven't seen before. Lindor was great playing shortstop for the Mets, playing every day. But his start of the year is, I think, what really hurt him in that race.
Could you possibly look at a ballot and not check, if you're being honest? And you're just, all I care about is integrity of this, what it's on. Could you possibly not put either of those guys down? Bobby Witt had a great year.
Yeah.
You can make a case. But I mean, Bobby Witt would be the guy you could make the case for. It'd be hard not to vote for Judge, and it'd be hard not to vote for Ohtani.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the here's how it finished: Judge, Witt, Soto. Remember how everyone said Gunnar Henderson could win the MVP? He finished 4th. Jose Ramirez, we love Jose. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Tarek Skubal, who won the American League Cy Young Award, Jarren Duran, Yordan Alvarez, and Brent Rooker finished 10th.
Good for Rook. He got some votes. Well, we've said, you know what? He's having a year that he'll get some votes. If he was on a better team, he'd get a lot more votes. So the fact that Brent Rooker got some votes, that was great. Let's give you some A's news. Seth Brown is back with the team, avoided arbitration because, the A's don't want to go to arbitration. And teams really, if you're not the Milwaukee Brewers and you want to go crap on your players, people don't like going to arbitration. I mean, Corbin Burns may be one of the greatest examples of here's a guy that puts his heart and soul into an organization, gives you everything he's got. He's an absolute stud. And you go to arbitration with him to save yourself a couple $100,000 and you crap all, because that's what you do. You go to arbitration. Like if Cody and I are in arbitration and we go, I would present a case of everything he doesn't do well and why he doesn't deserve the number he wants. And he would present the case of, well, this is what I do well, and this is why I should get that money. And it wasn't a huge difference in money with the Brewers. So you went and just soured your relationship with your best pitcher who had pitched great for you and made him go, I'm out of here. It was one of the worst.
They did it with Hader too.
Yeah. I mean, it's bad, but to save yourself. I mean, I don't know what the money was with Hader, but I remember reading the money with Corbin Burns was a couple. It wasn't even $1 million. Right?
No, it wasn't. It was under $1 million. It was like $800,000 or $900,000 or something like that.
And there they go back. They go back to their offices. We beat them. And it's like, okay, yeah.
Where's he at now?
How's that work for you?
He finished in the top 5 in the American League Cy Young voting. So you lost that guy because you didn't want to give him an extra $1 million.
So Brownie is back after hitting 231. Now, if you remember, he raised the average a lot towards the end of the season. 14 home runs, 44 RBIs, 124 games. When I look at this, it's kind of like insurance. Can do a lot of things. Probably the one thing you think most about Seth Brown now is the veteran guy who's been around for a long time. Really gives you 2 leaders inside. I mean, I've been watching a lot of hockey lately.
We won on Monday.
Been watching a lot of hockey lately, and the more I watch of hockey, the more it fries me. If I got to hear dressing room one more time, it is the dumbest thing in the world. And I have a challenge to you, and this is going way off track. Get me Dan Rusanowski, because I did this with Dan Rusanowski years ago. I said, Dan, is it time to get rid of sweaters and barns and all? No, it's what hockey's all about. Okay, Sharks, you want to put a new facility on the ballot here in Santa Clara County. Right? They're going to want to do that.
Correct, yes. The arena is the 5th oldest in hockey.
So if you want the taxpayers of Santa Clara County to pony up, I want you to put on the ballot, Dan Rusanowski, that we're going to build $1 billion barn and we're going to build $1 billion place with dressing rooms so we can put our sweaters on, and let's see how that works with the voters. Put that terminology down. Put barn on the ballot versus arena and see how that works for you.
It'd be interesting because some people might think, well, a barn, it could be helping agriculturally, farming, all that. I mean,
you think they're going to say we need $1 billion barn?
It was funny because, we were there on Monday and they're retiring Joe Thornton's sweater tomorrow, second only everyone behind Patrick Marleau. We were there Monday. Great time. We saw Celebrini score a game-winning goal. We saw the future.
Reality is they have not won since we were in the building.
That's true. They've lost
the barn.
They got blown out. They fought hard on Wednesday against a really good Dallas team, and then they lost they're 0-4 in the shootout. They lost last night in the shootout.
According to my hockey sources, because I know we have a lot of Sharks fans out there in the A's world. According to my sources, watch out in 3 years because you're seeing the young talent now. Like about 2-3 years, this is going to be fun. Talent is here and coming.
Am I going a little off base by saying they're only 5 points out of a playoff spot? You know, how many games in?
Well, there's a reason we have standings. But Seth Brown, you know, it's interesting. You got to have leadership. You have to. No matter how much front offices kind of poo-poo that, we all know in life you got to have leadership. You got to have leadership. You have to have leadership no matter what job you have, right? You got to have – you all know when you have a good boss or a bad boss. You all know when whoever leads, whatever industry, wherever you work, if you have somebody who's good versus somebody who's bad. And you know how things flourish or give you the best case scenario when you have somebody who is a good leader. And the A's right now, where they are, you've got to find that leadership. And that leadership, when you start talking about Seth Brown and Brent Rooker, is key. Now, they don't have a bazillion games in the big leagues, but they had been around now. And we talked to Brent Rooker about that here on the show recently when he got the Silver Slugger. We talked about what it means to him and how he helps the guys because, you know, let's face it, Seth Brown and Brent Rooker have kind of been through it all, right? They've had success. They've been DFA'd. They've been through that. You know, they're guys that can help young players navigate their journey in baseball. And I think about his ability to play first base because your outfield is you're going to have Lawrence Butler out there. You're going to have J.J. Bleday out there. And Duhar is going to be there. So you start thinking about Brent Rooker's going to be back. He's going to play some outfield that he's had surgery to repair the forearm. So that's 4. You only need 5. So Seth Brown gives you kind of that 5th outfielder, gives you that left-handed power bat. We've waited for that more of a big year power-wise from him. And he gives you that versatility. He can play first base. And then you think of another guy that I believe will be on the roster that continues to give you versatility and can play all 3 would be Max Schumann. So you kind of start to see how the roster is going to develop to 26. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of craziness because really the one, if you look at position player, I guess you'd pencil in Hernandez right now at third base. But if you look at third, that's the one spot. Kind of everywhere else, you kind of know where you're going. When you're going to have Langoliers and McCann behind the dish, you got to think Soderstrom for now. Nick Kurtz is coming. The first round pick out of Wake Forest is coming. You know, we're going to talk. I mean, he's going to rise really fast.
Was great in Arizona Fall League.
How many triples?
3, I believe.
I mean, this guy's got triples.
For a 6'5" first baseman.
But he's a highly advanced hitter. He's not going to be down there long. Kind of like Jacob Wilson. So you got Soderstrom's going to be at first. Ryan Noda no longer in the organization. So, you know, Seth Brown, can we get Seth Brown some reps? So we'll talk to David Force about this at the winter meetings. If you're bringing him back, we know he's going to do some outfield, but his versatility will be key. Get him some reps at first in spring training. So when you put him, he will play there during the year. I don't have to go, why didn't he play at all in spring training? That's ridiculous. But Brownie is back. Gives you a little leadership.
He's played over, I think he's the only A to play over 500. Well, he's the only A to play over 500 games with the organization on the roster. So glad to have Brownie back. I mean, I think we kind of anticipated he'd be back. I mean, because he had the year left of arbitration. So good to have him. You're right about the leadership. I actually put that quote out from Rooker yesterday on social media of him talking about being a leader and how much it means to him. So it's nice having those two guys. And this offseason, obviously, David Force told us third base and starting pitching is what they're looking for. So that's what we got to kind of keep our eyes on going forward when it comes to the A's and roster construction.
All right. The other thing we need to get into before we get back to the awards, I just want to get to this. I got the text from his agent. I know Denzel Clark's agent real well because we played college baseball together. And he texted me about Denzel being added to the 40-man roster. It's a big deal. Who else was added?
Gunnar Hoagland and Ryan Cusick.
Okay. So Denzel's coming too. That's kind of like the exciting thing is like, yes, get Seth Brown here. It gives you insurance. But as we know, there's young guys that are on the verge of coming here, and I got to tell you, Denzel Clark's one of them.
Let me see if I still have his stats from the Arizona Fall League, because he was pretty good in Midland. I don't think I have the stats on here anymore, but he hit like 380 in the Arizona Fall League, so he was killing it down there in Arizona, along with Nick Kurtz, as we mentioned. So, and we've heard from how many people, including Bobby Crosby, he's the greatest athlete people have ever seen. So,
Colby Thomas is another guy that's going to go to spring training, who may be the best guy in the minor leagues for the Athletics.
He had a home run yesterday. I think he's playing in the Team USA tournament. He had a home run for Team USA.
So you got the guys, it's so interesting how baseball works now. It's like you got these guys, you're going to go to spring training, but then you realize, man, the player movement, all the different players that you use. The good news is, in the past, we talked about guys who couldn't play. And now we're talking about guys that are coming. This young group just continues to grow, right? Thomas, Clark, these guys are coming. And they're super athletic, and they can play. And exciting time. So, a little news about the A's before we head to the winter meetings. We're going to not be on that unless you want to do a show on Thanksgiving.
I won't be here. I'm running a turkey trot. Hanging out with Greg and Slow, one of our great callers on the A's Clubhouse show.
Are you going to hook up with him when you're down there?
We were texting. We'll see. He said he isn't back from Hawaii until Thanksgiving. So he wants me to take time away from my wife's family, to go hang out with him on Thanksgiving. I'll see if I can make that happen.
You're going to run
it's only 2 miles.
It's only 2 miles.
And it's on the beach. I mean, it's the only way I can convince my wife and her family to do it with me.
Are they walking?
They're going to walk, yes, of course.
Are you running?
I will run, yes.
You're going to man up and run 2 miles?
It's easy. I did 3 this morning.
Okay. All right. What time?
I woke up at 6:30. Take this seriously. I went and got my blood work done again yesterday, glucose, A1C, all that stuff.
How is it?
I haven't got the A1C, but the glucose is 80, so I'm like right in that healthy range. So the diabetes they diagnosed me with. I guess I'm still considered it, but I'm like not even pre-diabetic anymore.
How much weight have you lost?
50 pounds, I think now.
Think about that. You used to be fit. We took 50 pounds and threw it back on you. That's what you used to be.
Plus, I put on muscle now. I've started using the gym. After 36 years, I finally decided to get in the gym.
See, folks, you can change your health.
Yeah, even in your mid-30s. I'm closer to late 30s now, but that's fine.
You can change. You're still on the front 9.
Yeah, very true.
Of life, you're on the front 9. I had to unfortunately tell a guy going, hey, you realize we are on the back 9. Are we? I'm like, yes.
Is that when you hit 45 or 50? When's the midlife crisis age?
If you only lived to 80.
Yeah, so 40.
40, once you hit 41, you're on the back 9.
What's life expectancy for males? Isn't like 76?
70 something. So, I mean, do the math.
I'm almost there.
I mean, not all of us are going to live to 100.
Correct. Well, most people don't, sadly.
And I don't even know if I want to live to 100. All right, so that's A's news. Back to the MVPs, no shocker. Skubal and Sale. I mean, basically, other than Rookie of the Year, it was all chalk. All the favorites won.
Yeah, including Manager of the Year.
Manager of the Year, Vogt. Our guys say, how about that? Stephen Vogt, last at bat, hits a home run. Then he gets a job immediately in the Mariners bullpen. We had him on A's Cast Live, and he is playing I have so much to learn. There's all the stuff that I'm doing here, blah, 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 blah. And then that offseason, he gets a manager's job. And then now I can't wait to see him at the winter meetings. Hey, remember when we interviewed you and you were the Mariners bullpen coach? I don't even think he was called that.
It was like, was it
he had like some weird
quality
title.
Control coach or something like that.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, you're now Manager of the Year. Unbelievable, the ride for Stephen Vogt.
Yeah. Speaking of winter meetings, I sent all my emails to the teams the other day. Heard back from a few. Got a few locked in already. We got Bob Melvin's going to be joining us, and that's a no-brainer.
You went to the Giants for that?
Yeah, well, because Bob got a.
I don't need Giants PR to get Bob.
Well, actually,
Melvin.
I asked for Buster Posey too.
What did they say?
They said Bob Melvin. We can get Bobby Evans now that he's back in the organization. The Giants.
Is that official?
Yeah.
You know what? Our man Bobby Evans. Congratulations, back with the Giants.
So
that is awesome.
That's
Bobby Evans has a great baseball mind, good dude, and now that the Giants are starting to. Farhan was a disaster. was a disaster. The more you like, I don't know. Not my problem. You know when people try and bring you their problems?
Yeah.
Not my problem. That's your problem. That's a you problem, not a me problem. Farhan was a you problem. It just sounded like a disaster. Anyway, with the way the Giants are kind of going to circle back how they want to run their business, it opens up for guys like Bobby Evans. Bobby Evans is a great man. Are we going to have him in the winter meetings?
I'll reach out to him. I'm sure we can get him.
We
always just find him walking around in the hotel lobby. So
he's not looking for a job anymore.
Yeah.
So, but Bobby
Evans,
he'll
be there.
Bobby Evans is a good man. So I'm very happy for him to get back with the Giants. Will Clark.
Oh boy, yeah.
With our guy Eric Burns has been Will the Thrill.
He's really been. He actually has been pretty thrilling with
Unchained.
Unhinged.
I mean, wow. I mean, the stuff he's like, oh my God. Go get him, Thrill. Good for you. I mean, you want to talk about brutal honesty. My God.
Yeah, roasting hitters now. Nick Kroll, the president of baseball ops for the Reds, is going to come on with us.
Cool.
Because they said Tito's too is very busy, which fine. We had Tito last year, new manager of the Reds. And a lot of teams said, they'll get back to me. They're working out schedule still. One guy confirmed. We're going to have Shelty, our guy from Pittsburgh. So there's a couple of guests we have. Obviously, we'll have David Force and Mark Kotze as well. And, whatever A's contingent, Billy Owens, whoever's down there, we'll have those. And then our guys from MLB Network, I already talked to the network, and our guys from MLB Network Radio. So I asked for Eduardo and Steve Phillips. I don't need to ask for Farron and Duke. I can just text them. So
all right,
looking forward to all that going on in a few weeks.
And also, that is that's something that's in the articles, buyouts at MLB Network.
Hey, ESPN too.
That's not good. That's not good. Rookie of the year. So we've done everything, right? We've done Cy. Rookie of the year, Luis Heel. I remember late in the season, we were doing an interview. We heard Gill, and we're like, no, it's not Gill, it's Heel. Not shocked by it. I think when you kind of look at it, it kind of makes sense because of the good first half he had when Garrett Cole was out, was really big for the Yankees. And Cowser was obviously very good. We talked already about have we talked about Mason Miller finishing fourth? Have we been on since then?
No.
Mason Miller getting the votes for fourth. I thought, the Sporting News accolades that he got and award was big for Mason Miller, but Mason Miller just getting votes. So Brent Rooker and Mason Miller getting votes for a team that, as much as we said improvement for the A's, I mean, the team stunk. I mean, you win 69 games, but Mason Miller finishing fourth, that was definitely a big deal. And Brent Rooker getting MVP votes was definitely a big deal. Luis Heel winning it over his own teammate, Austin Wells, and then over Cowser from the Orioles, not a shocker.
It was really close, though, if you look at the voting. It was 106 to 101 when it came to points. And then Austin Wells beat Mason Miller by 1 point in the voting, 17 to 16. So Mason Miller almost finished third in the Rookie of the Year voting.
And then you get to the travesty. An absolute travesty. And that's where I wonder, what the hell are we doing? You want to talk about things going forward? How we recognize players, how we vote for players, how we put them in the Hall of Fame, how we do the awards. We really have to rethink this because our awards are a big deal in our game. They are. I have in my house, do you want me to go get it? I have the National League Most Valuable Player. Maybe I should go get it. My grandfather won the MVP in 1947. Boston Braves, third baseman. It's a big deal. It's a big deal for families. It's a big deal for your legacy. It's a big deal for franchises to say we've got X amount of MVPs. So it's important how we vote. It's important on who's voting. And you just start to wonder, what the hell is going on here? Who's voting? We don't have a lot of writers anymore who cover this game on a full-time basis. Do we really need to rethink who we're giving the votes to? As the numbers dwindle on people who cover this game full-time, it's almost, and knowing the people who have Hall of Fame votes, it's becoming, I hate to say it, but in some ways, a sham. You got people who are voting who don't go to games, who don't cover the sport, and haven't had jobs in years. And they don't have jobs in baseball. If they do have a job, we have to rethink how we vote for Hall of Fame and for our awards. We do. I have nothing against Paul Skeens. I think Paul Skeens, we love the story because we want starting pitching to be prominent again in our game. So all for winning a national championship at LSU, being the first round pick, showing up and just being explosive as we've seen in a long, long time. And he's so good for like expanding our game because his girlfriend, Livy Dunn, she's a rock star. She's a social influencer. She's got over 5 million followers. She is a national champion herself. She won the national championship with LSU gymnastics, and she's going back for another run at it. They are a power couple. They're not Kelsey Swift, but they're pretty darn big, and it does not hurt our game whatsoever. I'm all in on Paul Skeens. It's great, but he only played in 23 games. Our sport's 162. He only played in 23. And when you're telling me that you got guys that beat him, Jackson Merrill played in 100, and I texted this to you the other day. Jackson Merrill played in 156 games. 156 games. He won the Silver Slugger Award as the best offensive center fielder in baseball. 24 home runs, 90 RBIs, hit .292, an OPS of 826, an OPS plus of 127. 31 doubles, 6 triples, a bunch of game-winning home runs and hits down the stretch. His team was in the playoffs, one of the best teams in baseball. If you took the names out and you put just the numbers up there, you would never vote for a guy who only pitches in 23 games and was babied during those 23 games. It's not like he was Fernando Valenzuela or Dwight Gooden and he came out and he's throwing complete games and, dominating the league. He's 5'6" and out of their pitch count. In games, they do matter, but they didn't. How does Jackson Merrill, who played in 156 games, center field, won the Silver Slugger Award? So this is not even a rookie award. He was given the award for the best offensive center fielder in baseball, and he's not your rookie of the year. That is a sham.
He was also a center fielder for the season started, or a shortstop for the season started, and they moved him to center field, so he's playing a whole new position. So he finished second, and then Jackson Churio, who also had a great year. He played in 148 games.
I'm going to get to that, but get back to Merrill. Is that not a sham when you look at the years?
You're also obviously you're talking to a Pirates fan, but
doesn't matter.
No. I was going to say I think it should have been Jackson Merrill.
You saying that is why they won't give us a vote.
Oh no, I was saying that I agree with you. I think it's Jackson Merrill.
But you go, I'm a Pirates fan. We can't have people who I'm a fan. I'm trying to figure out how we vote. Because that's why they won't give us a vote. Because they would say, you're a Pirates fan. So when you vote, it's got to be, it doesn't matter what your fandom is. It doesn't matter who you work for. Like if I had a vote, I'm not voting. I would not vote for Mason Miller, even though I worked for the A's. I would not vote. I would give him a vote because you have the first place second. I would not vote for Brent Rooker over Aaron Judge or Bobby Witt. But yet they think I would. And because we do that, we go, well, I'm a Pirates fan, but that's what they're afraid of because they think the writers are impartial. And that's our problem. Churio, 148 games, 21 home runs, 79 RBIs. He had a 791 OPS, obviously not what Merrill's was, but still fantastic for a rookie. OPS plus 117, 29 doubles. Played in 148 games for a team that won the division.
It was a 2020 guy, a 20-year-old rookie.
I mean, if you're not going to give it to Merrill, how do you not give it to Churio? Both these guys, superior years to Paul Skeens. I get Paul Skeens. It's good for our game. It's great to have him there and Livy Dunn and all that. But who is voting, and how do you vote a guy who only pitched in 23 games versus these guys who played full seasons for playoff teams? That's a sham.
I totally agree. I think that I made the case, we were talking about it before, during the season, that I thought Churio should get more run, and he finished third, and it wasn't even close. He got 26 third-place votes, and he finished with 26 points, where Merrill got 104 total, and Paul Skeens got 136. Shota Imanaga finished fourth. He only got 4 votes. But, yeah, I mean, Merrill only having 104 votes is criminal. I mean, I get it. Paul Skeens was electrifying from the starting pitching standpoint. But he's pitching for a team that wasn't playing for anything.
Well, he didn't. He was babied in his starts.
Can you imagine where they would be if plus the thing that hurts, if you look at it from just a organizational standpoint, it would have been great if they kept him on the roster and he gets a draft pick, but now he gets to go to free agency a year earlier because he won Rookie of the Year award. So the Pirates could have got a draft pick, didn't get it because he had things to work on in AAA. And then here it is. They got screwed out of it, and he's going to go join free agency early because I'm going to predict right now he's not staying in Pittsburgh after 2029. Well,
the other one you mentioned, Shota Imanaga, who may be one of the best personalities we got in our game. He's a funny dude.
Yeah.
Phenomenal year. Japanese professional players should not be eligible. The Ichiros of the world should not be eligible. If you've been it's like these guys are pros coming in. You shouldn't be eligible for Rookie of the Year.
Well, it's going to be interesting, like when Roki Sasaki comes, which we found out he's not going to be coming over until the international signing period, which is after January 15th. Like, I guess we can consider him a rookie. He's only 22, right? Because I know he's played a little professionally, but he's only 22. Where
no, if you pitch over in Japan, that is a super high level of baseball. You're playing. It's a super high level of baseball. You're playing professional baseball. It'd be like you're on the DP tour, which we used to call the European tour in golf, and you come over to the PGA tour. Are you really a rookie? Just because you weren't playing here, you're playing in Europe professionally, playing for big money in Europe. I mean, it's kind of like our arrogance. Our league is better, but Ichiro should never have been Rookie of the Year. That's a joke.
Rookie of the Year and MVP that year.
It's ridiculous. I could be wrong on that. I just don't think having been over to Japan twice, have a lot of respect for their baseball. They just won the World Baseball Classic. I mean, they're showing us that their baseball is a high level. If you've starred over there, should you really come over here and be like, oh, he's Rookie of the Year? Imanaga is not like a guy that has gone through the bus leagues, right? He didn't play in Stockton, right? He didn't play in Amarillo. He didn't play wherever. He didn't play in the New York Penn League. But anyway, Skeens that's the only thing of the awards I sit back and I go, oh, man.
You know, it's another thing, too, about Skeens, and I don't know, a lot of people probably didn't watch the MLB Network Awards where Livy Dunn was excited, and he just sat there and he's like, ho-hum, like, okay, cool. I listened to his interview he did with Power Alley the other morning with Duquette and Jim Duquette and Danny Wuxelman. He's boring.
It's okay.
But military background, obviously family military. He went to Air Force. When I think of excitement, I don't think of Paul Skeens, but he's a great pitcher on the mound, so that's all that matters. I mean, if you're not personal, whatever. But that's why he has his girlfriend to help him with that. So that's the one knock on him, in my opinion, is he's for a sport that's trying to market itself and show that their players have personality. He's a guy that I don't think has a personality just yet. I know he's still young, but that's my one takeaway is he's kind of boring.
But he's electric, and he brings eyeballs and people to the ballpark. And once again, I'm all for a young power couple is great for our game. She's phenomenal. I mean, what she's able to do and what she's in the world of nil money and all the money she's made as a gymnast. I mean, she's a national champion too. They're both national champions at LSU. So hats off, ton of respect. And that's good for our game. It's just you play in 23 games versus guys that play full seasons. There's no way 23 people should have voted for him. Like, what were you voting for? Popularity? That's where it gets. I mean, I'm sure Evan Drellich has a vote. Like, what should we do? He'll be a good guy to ask.
Plus,
what? Like I've always said, like John Miller and Ken Korak don't have a vote. Well, they're afraid that you're just going to root for the home team. Well, I mean, my God, some of these votes, that you've seen over the years, and some of the guys that haven't been voted for really the ultimate award, the Hall of Fame, you make scratch your heads. But we don't have enough writers working in our industry I'd be interested in the total number. How many people actually work full-time in baseball? How many writers do we actually have versus how many writers are voting who don't work full-time in baseball? Why do they have a vote?
Yeah, like I think what the Heisman, like just taking the college football, like the Heisman Trophy vote, like I believe it's all, I think broadcasters are part of that too.
Yeah.
Like as they should be.
The great Roxy Bernstein has a Heisman.
So like Roxy calls games of college football. He's not, I mean, yeah, he went to Cal, but he's not biased towards Cal. He's a national broadcaster, so he gets a vote. But he can vote. But in baseball, Ken Korak can't vote. Vin Scully couldn't vote when he was alive. I mean, what are we doing?
I know, Vin Scully. I'm going to have rando guy that covered the Royals who hasn't worked in baseball in 5 years still has a vote, but Vin Scully didn't have a vote. I mean, you can go down the line of great broadcasters. They don't have votes. Like certain people, it's just like, it's crazy. It's just plain crazy. Hall of Fame is always big for us. When is the announcements? When is the actual announcement? The ballots are out.
Hall of Fame. I think it's right before we go to win. I think it's December 8th is when they announce it.
And then we'll be there on the 9th.
Yeah. We'll be there on the 9th. I think it's either the 7th or 8th, and our first show there is the 9th. Because we also have the Baseball Classic Era Committee with like with the Cobra, Dave Parker, Tommy John, like those will be announced that day too. I'm going to look and see when it's supposed to be announced. The results will be announced on January 23rd for the players. Now I think the Baseball Era, the Classic one, is like right before we go to the winter. So it's like the 7th or 8th of December. So we'll find out if any of those guys are going to go in.
Ichiro to me, no question. I had a vote. I'm definitely doing CC. No question I vote for Beltran. And no question I vote for Andrew Jones. Andrew Jones is one of the greatest defensive, throw in the power. Andrew Jones is one of the greatest center fielders to have ever lived. Carlos Beltran I will look past the cheating scandal. Carlos Beltran as a switch hitter, the numbers are unbelievable. He was a dominant force. Carlos Beltran should have a plaque in the Baseball Hall of Fame. I'm cool starting there. You want to convince me otherwise? I am a small hall guy. I am not a big hall guy. So those four, I'm in. Everybody else, you'd have to convince me.
I'm with you on those. I think the other guys that I had when someone posted out there, who are your, if you had a vote? You can vote for nobody. You can vote for one guy, but your max you can vote for when the ballot comes out, you can vote for 10. Yeah, so I think the guys I added, and I had no PED biases on it. I put A-Rod on mine. I'd vote for. How do you not vote for A-Rod?
Well, I got a question about A-Rod, which I think is a legitimate question. I think we learned this from the great book, The Game of Shadows. If you've never read it, it's a phenomenal book of tracking some of the Balco customers and really Bonds. And we know they tracked and they've got when Bonds basically started using steroids. Well, it's easy for us to say, well, Bonds had 3 MVPs. Bonds was 300. Bonds was a Hall of Famer before the steroids. So that makes it pretty easy. Now, some people are like, don't put him in. I get it, but I agree. Bonds is the greatest player I've ever seen play.
Same. He should be in.
A-Rod, we know was juicing in Texas, and there's a lot of belief he was juicing when he was, first coming up in Seattle. So if his entire career is juice, do you still feel the same way?
I think the way I'd feel is yes, because there are guys that have been linked to PEDs that are in the Hall of Fame.
I'm not linking it. I'm asking about A-Rod.
Well, plus
I'm not asking about anybody else.
Yeah,
I'm asking about A-Rod. If his entire career was juice, do you feel the same way?
I think it changes it a bit, but I still vote for him.
Okay.
The other guys, Billy Wagner. Billy Wagner should be in. I mean, arguably the greatest left-handed reliever of all time. And then the other guy I put on there was just because I looked at his WAR totality was Andy Pettitte.
All those players, you got to convince me. If I'm staying away from the Hall of Good, and I'm staying small hall, greatest. To me, call me old school, but when you got to go to stats to sell me, that's a problem. That should be, I'm not saying you shouldn't get in. I'm just saying it's a red flag. It's a red flag when you got to go to certain numbers to convince me. That's a red. I'll always remember, I think it was the first time it ever happened. For you 49er fans, you might remember Ira Miller was the longtime beat writer for the 49ers through the Walsh eras. Great writer. I mean, is he still alive, Ira Miller?
Let's find out. I mean, I know the name, but I don't think I was living here when he was.
Hard to deal with, by the way. But
no, he passed in 2012.
All right, so Ira Miller did a lot of Hall of Fame stuff, had an unbelievable career, but the way the pro football...
Oh, wait. There are two different Ira Millers?
Sports writer.
Well, there was an actor, too. That's what popped up. It doesn't say anything about him about him passing or not.
All right, so Ira Miller, his job was to present Joe Montana. That's how they do it in the NFL. A writer from your area will present you. And Ira Miller... job was to present Joe Montana. So Ira Miller, in front of the group, the voters, stood up and said, "I present Joe Montana," and sat down. That's it. And now people have done that since, but Ira Miller, and that was powerful. Here's a guy we're going to decide whether he goes into the Hall of Fame. I present you Joe Montana, and that's all I need to say, because he's freaking Joe Montana. At that time, the greatest quarterback of all time. Ira Miller didn't have to tell you about Super Bowls. Ira Miller didn't have to give you stats. He's Joe Montana, and he's worthy to have a bust in the Professional Football Hall of Fame because of his greatness. That, to me, is a Hall of Famer. I don't need to tell you what Willie Mays or Ted Williams or Babe Ruth, Ken Griffey Jr., Cal Ripken. Do I need to tell you what Cal Ripken Jr. did? Nope. George Brett, Mike Schmidt? Nope. Tony Gwynn? Nope. That's the greats of the greats. Do I need to go to Ricky Henderson's? A's fans, do I need to go to Ricky Henderson's baseball reference page to prove he's a baseball Hall of Famer? No, he's Ricky Henderson. He walks right in. He's one of the greatest human beings to ever play our sport. He's Ricky frickin' Henderson. That's a Hall of Famer. When you got to, like, I did this thing last night. I don't know if we're going to get time. I went back to Todd Helton. If you take Todd Helton's road stats, he's not a Hall of Famer. And I didn't love him going. I think he's a great guy. He was good to me. So you're a media guy. No, Todd Helton was really good to me. I did a few interviews with him. Super cool guy. But Todd Helton's road stats, if you just doubled them, and I know people say he hit better at home. Well, that's a lie. Because you know what? You know Barry Bonds? Barry Bonds has more home runs than anyone that ever played this game. True or false?
That is not true.
Where did Barry Bonds hit more home runs? Home or road in his career?
Road.
Hit more on road. I started going through a bunch of the Hall of Famers. Their road stats. Stan Musial had the exact same amount of hits road home. I mean, you wouldn't believe how many home runs and RBIs and stuff or hits guys had on the road versus home. Were better and in the Hall of Fame. So basically, they were good everywhere. Todd Helton, you take his road stats and you just doubled them. Get him off a mile high. His batting average is so dramatically different. The home runs are so I just double his road stats. Is he a Hall of Famer? Not even close. These are the guys that we're putting in. Scott Rowland. These are the guys we're putting in. So I'm saying, if you got to use all these numbers to try and prove something, are they really greatness?
It's a good point, because I think that, it ties, if you look at all these guys, I think the guys that we're talking about right now, I think if you're asking baseball fans, I think obviously Ichiro's no-brainer.
No. Great example. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Chris Townsend's job to sell you Ichiro Suzuki into the Baseball Hall of Fame. I stand up and go, I give you Ichiro, and I sit down. Everybody, I'm voting yes. I don't need to look at Ichiro's baseball reference page to know that Ichiro Suzuki is a Baseball Hall of Famer. He's one of the greatest baseball players of all time. Ichiro, welcome to Cooperstown.
See, I think he's the only guy you can, like, in this class right now that you can do that with. Like, CeCe had a great career. I think he should be in as a first ballot guy too, but he probably won't be. But he should be. But I think some people would have to look up his stats. I mean, I know him from what he did with the Brewers, getting traded over from Cleveland, pitching on 3 days rest multiple times, and winning the World Series with the Yankees.
I have no problem saying CeCe Sabathia, welcome to the Baseball Hall of Fame. I have no problem.
And then it gets more interesting with someone like Andrew Jones. Like, Andrew Jones is.
I have no. Andrew Jones is one of the greatest center field. I mean, we didn't get to watch everybody, but defensively, and he's got all the home runs and he's got all the playoffs. I don't know how you don't look at him and say, there's something there why you're not. I don't know. How's he not in? Who played the position better than him?
During that era, nobody.
Nobody.
Bernie Williams is pretty good, and he's not in.
Bernie Williams is not.
But he's not Andrew Jones. No, I'm saying
center fielder.
No, defensively, no. I'm just saying, like, I'm thinking of guys.
The problem with the Yankee guys is they won so much. So it's like, do we just put everybody in from that Yankee era because they were just so dominant? Are they really like Bernie Williams? Bernie Williams came on this program. Super great guy. Bernie Williams, when you go Bernie Williams, you go, welcome to Cooperstown.
50-50.
Andy Pettit, Jorge Posada, all these guys. Mariano Rivera, you're in. Jeter, you're in, right?
To segue his defensive stats.
So it's like, that's the thing about the Hall of Fame. I mean, are we trying to figure out just how can we get this guy in? It's like everybody wants big hall versus small hall now. And that's kind of the problem, like the Pro Football Hall of Fame. They're like trying to find guys to put in. And you're having some of the Hall of Famers who are like, we don't dig this.
Plus, in the NFL, well, actually, every Hall of Fame, no, I'm not going to say it because I don't know for sure, but I know in the NFL Hall of Fame, they don't have what baseball has, which is the character clause. That's one of the biggest things for baseball is the character clause. The reason Curt Schilling is not in the Hall of Fame is not because he wasn't a good pitcher, it's because people don't like him and what he says out after his career, which I get it, but like that's why he's on it, is because of the character class.
Makes me think, Greg Maddux, did I need to present Greg Maddux baseball reference page?
No. Or Glavine or Smoltz.
Randy Johnson, right? Nolan Ryan, Tom Seaver. No. So it's like that to me, it's like when I hear Pedroia, I'm like, come on, guys, seriously. Ian Kinsler. I mean,
Pedroia, Hall of very good. He's like Jimmy Rollins for me.
Jimmy Rollins. I got the baseball where I got the signed special baseball card. So right here that we got from when we did that segment. It's a signed Jimmy Rollins card right here. Love Jimmy Rollins. Am I putting Jimmy Rollins in the baseball? Chase Utley in the Baseball Hall of Fame?
Don't get Hembo on here. I'll tell you that.
Well, he's got to go to Baseball Reference. He can't just say Chase Utley and sit down. We'd all be like, I don't know.
You mean the guy that broke Ruben Tejada's, or what was it, Ruben Tejada's leg?
I don't know. I mean, Beltran to me, my God, Beltran was a star.
So he was very good in Kansas City. Then he goes to Houston. He's a star in Houston on the Killer Bees, and they go to the World Series. Then he goes to the Mets. Really good there. I don't really remember his career as a Giant. He wasn't there long enough.
One of the top switch hitters to have ever played our game.
Then he was great for the Astros and the Yankees.
Yeah, come on. Beltran's a Hall of Famer. He's only not in because of the scandal.
He helped the Astros in many ways.
I get it. If that scandal, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer without the scandal. All right, Evan Drellich, how we view baseball, how you watch it, how you get it. It's all changing. We're going to find out those answers next right here on A's Cast Live.
With more sunshine returning, it's time to get outside and make the most of what Cinnabar Hills Golf Club has to offer. Like 27 championship caliber holes tucked in the beautiful hills of San Jose. And take advantage of their amazing Bay Area views for your next special event. It's all for you at Cinnabar Hills Golf Club, an award-winning venue designed to peacefully take you away from the bustle of Silicon Valley. Go to CinnabarHills.com. That's CinnabarHills.com.
Brent Rooker, fresh off winning the 2024 Silver Slugger, spoke with Towny on A's Cast Live about the moment he realized his 2024 season was taking off.
It's mid to late June, I think. It's kind of when I kind of made the switch from who I was in 23 to who I was for the rest of the year. I think up until it was a series in Anaheim towards the back half of June. that up until that point, I had kind of been who I was in 23 still. The strikeouts were high. The average was kind of right where it had been the previous year. I had the power spurts, which is what were kind of keeping me productive. And then I made a few adjustments with swing-wise and preparation-wise and to my approach that series in Anaheim. And for the rest of the year, I was able to remain much more consistent in the fact that, like, I've always been very streaky power-wise, which is how a lot of guys work in the big leagues, right? The slugging kind of comes in bunches. You hit one homer, you tend to hit four. It's kind of that thing. So the difference between this year and last year was during those kind of between those streaks of power, between those little home run bursts, I was able to maintain. I was able to take my singles. I was able to take my walk. I was able to continue to get on base and remain productive in other ways to where I wasn't just solely relying on hitting homers to produce runs.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
This is Commander Cody, and fall is upon us, and Linksole has dropped their new fall line. New pants fit for a more custom experience with elevated layers and performance polos to help transition from season to season, no matter if you're wearing them out on the golf course, out to dinner, or just hanging out with friends. Some effortless looks to help you find the right look and feel for any occasion. Go to their website, linksole.com. That's linksole.com, and find out how you can unlock 20% off your next order. Remember, in the big leagues, to play good, you got to look good.
If you're looking for a new mattress, Nest Bedding has you covered. Sleep on the same mattress Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson sleeps on. Nest Bedding is the #1 brand of online mattresses and the Bay Area's favorite mattress store. Take home the Easy Breather pillow. The New York Times calls it their #1 pick. You can navigate their easy-to-use website, nestbedding.com. That's nestbedding.com. Nest Bedding, love where you sleep.
Looking to stay up to date on all things A's? Head over to athletics.com/A'sCast. That's athletics.com/A'sCast to listen to A's baseball in full 24/7 coverage of the A's, only on A's Cast. With a single click, you can stream great shows, live, pre- and post-game coverage, and of course, all the great action of the A's this season. Head to athletics.com/A'sCast today.
A's Cast Live continues from the studio. Here's Chris Townsend.
Well, I just got good news. This crazy dark mole that popped up on my leg. I'm not going to.
Oh, wow.
That I got taken off. It's kind of scary because out of nowhere, it just like popped up and it was like, whoa, what the hell is that? Just got the call from the doc, left a message. Not melanoma. I'm good.
Well, that's good. I know
I was a little worried because someone looked at it and went, oh, boy. But when you're in the sun a lot, like I am, especially at this time of the year, well, you say it's going to rain every freaking. Oh, do you have the Will Clark?
I don't know. It's just I have the video right here.
What he talks about. And then you're saying you're just trying to hit a home run. You know why? Because you're a blanking a-hole. I love Will Clark. How do you not like Will Clark? Well, he's a giant. But how do you not like Will Clark?
We can see if Evan's there since I'm calling him. We don't know. Let's see.
Evan, how are you?
You guys got me?
Yeah, we got you. How's everything?
Tell me back. I can't hear you if you can hear me.
We can hear you. Hold on. Can you hear us? Now we don't hear him.
Let me try him again. We used this before on my computer with the Give me 1 second.
So what are you going to do?
Call him again. I have the settings configured, right? So let's see if I changing them that did it.
All right. So Evan Drellich from the Athletic is going to join us. A great article that he's put out. If you don't get the Athletic, then don't worry. We'll take care of you right here. And it's basically telling you about the national TV packages and revenue sharing and local deals. Normally, that kind of stuff for a lot of fans doesn't really matter, but it really does matter because it's how you're going to view your favorite teams. And this is also kind of the blueprint of, you got to think how baseball goes. The NBA's watching, the NHL's watching. Evan, are you there?
Got me, guys.
We got you. Can you hear us?
I got you.
Great. We appreciate you coming on the program again.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what's I was thinking about this coming into this. When we first had you on back in the day, talking about everything going on with the Houston Chronicle and the Houston Astros. It's amazing how your career has evolved from that guy covering everything in Houston and the Astros to now these bombshell articles in The Athletic about the game as a national guy. Just talk about how your career has evolved, kind of educate our fan base again, where you were in Houston with the Astros now to a national guy, and your work is second to none.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's actually funny that there's a line between the two, which is that when I was covering the Astros a decade ago, they were in the middle of that rebuild, and they were doing a lot of things differently than other teams, and I had to pay attention to the collective bargaining agreement. If I wasn't paying attention to kind of all these off the field things that the Astros were trying to leverage, and they were tanking, so you got to understand the draft pick system, go down the list, service time, I wouldn't have been doing a good job. And so it turned out that I just became really interested in the structure of the sport and how things work and levers of power. And I think I was always interested in that even before the Astros, but I had to deal with it heavily in Houston. And from there, it kind of piqued my interest. And here we are writing about TV all the time.
Well, most fans will go, oh, the business of baseball, blah, 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 blah. But this is how we view the game and how we're going to see our own teams going forward. I mean, obviously, with the A's, there's been a lot of talk here in the Bay Area about our deal with NBC, with the move to Sacramento. But once 2028 hits and the team goes to Vegas, obviously the national baseball contracts are going to be expiring. And as you put in your great article, we tell everybody all the time, if you can afford it, The Athletic is a great subscription for all fans, whether it's NFL, NBA, all sports. You guys do a great job covering it. But, in 2028, a lot of things are going to change, not only for the A's, but for everybody. And even this year, we got 7 teams that baseball is having to help them as Bally's went into bankruptcy and coming out of bankruptcy. There's 7 teams baseball's helping show their game. So we have to realize that going forward, baseball has, I believe, and you tell me, don't they need to have a platform that works for all 30 teams?
Well, it's unfortunately more. Yeah, look, in a perfect world, would you be able to go to one place and watch any game? Yeah, it's not going to happen that way. We're heading toward a world, though, where if in-market local blackouts have been a problem for you, there's probably going to be more games accessible via like major streaming companies, and we don't know which MLB will end up partnering with. But the idea is this: right now in baseball, the local teams, the individual teams control their local rights. The TV rights and the direct-to-consumer, which you can just think of as streaming, the ability to sign up for a subscription without having to get cable or satellite. And some teams offer that and some teams don't. MLB wants to take over those rights. And the idea would be to use that regular season inventory more nationally. So you already have the Sunday Night Baseball on Fox, and like there is games that are national during the regular season. MLB wants to do more and wants to sell multiple packages to whoever probably bids the most or presents the best plan. And that could be Amazon, that could be Peacock, go down the list, any of the big streaming companies. And so that means that probably you'll have to sign up for multiple things to be able to watch all your team's games. But on those big packages, as long as you have the subscription, you're not blacked out. That if you have Prime Video and baseball's on Prime, you'll be able to watch it. So it could cost you in one way. It could help you in another way. It's a way for the owners to make more money, and their media rights fees, their local media rights fees have been dipping. The cord cutting has hurt regional sports networks. There's been this big trickle down effect, and it's affecting a lot of teams' bottom lines, mostly the small and medium sized market teams to this point. But the most valuable package that MLB could put together would be something that included all 30 teams. The biggest market teams, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Cubs, the Dodgers, and Mets, whatever, whoever you want to put in that group, their rights are the most valuable. So the hardest to convince to get involved in that package are the teams that are already making a ton of money and don't want to share more of that money. Right? You do a national package, that money's going to get shared.
Yeah.
Big market teams don't like revenue sharing. So the big hurdle here is going to be how many teams can Manfred get to participate? How does he do that? If you're going to change revenue sharing, it's not just a negotiation with the owners. It's a negotiation with the players. And so all this TV stuff is going to bleed over into the next collective bargaining agreement negotiation, which is after the 2026 season. And if there's a lockout, the TV stuff is going to be front and center.
I often wonder, because I worked in the NFL for years, and I actually worked also for a team. I worked for the Raiders and learned about that business. Do people in baseball ever go, what they do in the NFL obviously propelled the sport to be the number one sport, the number one thing in all entertainment now in our country, and they banded together as one, the owners did. Now, you had to bring some kicking and screaming, but for the most part, they realized that they were stronger together than they were as individuals. When you're having these discussions with people in the know, do they ever bring up, God, we've been fighting the NFL model, but man, the NFL model really works.
So I did a story about this earlier in the year when I was first reporting that MLB wanted to nationalize the rights, and the NFL did do it. They did it decades ago. They did it in the early stages of the league. So it's simply a harder thing to pull off today. The other reality of it is the inventory in baseball makes it the number of games just makes it a different beast. Where, what channel could possibly offer you need multiple channels, Fox Sports 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right, to kind of be able to carry that load. And so, yes, would baseball owners have been in a better spot potentially if they figured this out years ago? There's a lot of stuff with the TV situation, cord cutting, where there could have been an opportunity for baseball to get in front of this to some degree, but they were making good money, right? The reason you end up in this spot is because the old cable system that's now kind of crumbling made you good money. And you don't want to walk away from the money, even if it would help you long term potentially. And so now they're dealing with it. Now they got to find a way, now that it is starting to hurt them. Manfred's vision is something closer to the NFL. It is the league office controlling all those rights. It wouldn't look exactly like the NFL because of the number of games, but we'll see if Rob can get there. Hal Steinbrenner, the Yankees owner, said a couple days ago when I asked him how he felt about it, that he's told Rob he wants it to be an option. He doesn't want it to be something he's forced to do. So, can Rob change his mind or convince him to do it? TBD.
What's so interesting about our game is that the one thing that we do is we are a major content provider. We've got tons of live programming, and that's what these streaming services, as you put like a Yellowstone or a Narcos or whatever, people binge watch, and the next thing you know, the series is over. People are always looking for live content. That's what baseball provides. I know the Arizona Diamondbacks are going to be on Amazon Prime. You're going to have to pay a little more for that. Amazon has really been one that's jumped in with the NFL that we've seen with Thursday Night Football. So just talk the streaming services. Do you believe, because we present so much live content, that eventually this is exactly going to be a perfect relationship between Major League Baseball and these streaming services?
Well, that is the optimistic thinking, that the streaming space is still new, and you wonder if there's going to be consolidation, or we already see some attempts at it. People, I think, the consumers, the you and me, the average person looks around and goes, "Gosh, there's a lot of streaming services." It's probably not tenable. But yeah, the bet that baseball and the other sports properties, or what they are relying on, is what has frankly been shown thus far. The NBA got $77 billion worth of deals, between 3 different partners going forward this summer. It reached new deals, including with Amazon, including with NBC. That's a lot of money. And so these streaming companies are saying exactly what you're saying, that, this is the way to get people to watch. And so the value of the live content remains, I think, really by everybody's accounts, quite valuable. And kind of the only question then becomes, how does the streaming world shake out? A lot of the streaming companies, at least for a time, weren't profitable. I think some are now becoming more profitable. But you can make a big investment in sports and then not make enough money, and then what, right? But presumably a few of them will survive and do very well, like Netflix.
I think about your article and, reading this article, and go to The Athletic, everybody. It's a fantastic article. You learn a lot. What's the players say? Well, the players don't have a say, Evan, I guess, in the deals that Major League Baseball does when it comes to whatever your TV or your streaming is going to be. But the players do have a say on how the owners divide the profits. Is that correct?
Right. That's right. It's revenue sharing, which how the TV money is divided up between the owners, is something the players have to sign off on. It's a collectively bargained issue. So, no, the players don't technically control what MLB does with TV rights. The players can't say, we want your regional sports network to be XYZ. But a major change to the TV structure means a major change to revenue sharing, means the players have a say.
I think about, when we talk about everybody kind of sharing, I think about the deals. Like, if you've got all 30 teams, and I can go to, let's just say, someone like Budweiser or Coca-Cola or whoever, and you're now selling to all 30 teams for 162 games. Is this where they see, from an advertising standpoint? I mean, think about the Japanese companies that you now could be hitting up with Shohei Ohtani, and Roki Sazaki's coming, and Shota Imanaga, and the more of the Japanese players. I mean, you got the international dollar. You got basically you got domestic, you got international. Do they see this profit could be way, way bigger than what we've got going now?
Yeah, and I think one important point here is that it's not going to be 162 games, right? There's going to be leftover local inventory. In the NBA, for example, the NBC contract that they just reached, I believe, calls for 100 games to go to NBC, and that's on a couple days of the week. And then, the other deal handles some other set of games. It means that the local broadcast partner will have less, and that's good and bad. It will make, in market where local blackouts exist, it will make it theoretically easier if you've got an internet connection, right? Your game is going to be on Amazon whatever night. Okay, I got my Amazon subscription. All right. But it will kind of create it doesn't solve the problem of the different places you have to go to. It's not going to be kind of one-stop shopping. At least that's not how it looks now.
Let's end on this. Other than this article that you've done this offseason, what interests you the most? I actually did another radio interview just a little while ago, and I was asked a similar question. We were kind of touching on it a second ago when you were asking about revenue sharing. I've been following this big regional sports network broadcasting group's bankruptcy proceeding, Diamond Sports Group, and they ran the Ballot regional sports networks, have now been rebranded FanDuel. Nobody cares about bankruptcy. Nobody wants to read about bankruptcy cases, right? It's boring. It's bankruptcy law. The thing that is striking to me
and it goes back to this revenue sharing point, is everything in the next couple of years in this sport is going to flow from TV. Why does that bankruptcy case matter? Because what happens with local media rights, which depending on the team is anywhere from 12 to 32% of their annual revenue, is going to influence whether there's a work stoppage, how hard the owners do or do not push for a salary cap. In short, the lockout will be televised. The reason we will have a lockout, and we don't know if that would bleed into the regular season. I think most people assume there will at least be an off-season lockout. We'll see. We'll see if they find a way to avoid that. But it will exist because of television. And so it doesn't seem people are concerned about how am I going to watch the games. That is a huge, huge issue. But everything else that's attached to those decisions around how you watch the games, might literally determine whether there are any games to watch in 2027.
Yeah, I mention it all the time about the salary cap, and it's funny how people who only work in baseball think, it'll never happen, It's like, like you said, the pitch clock would never happen, like all these other, because it's like, if you've got big market teams and you got small market teams, the salary cap, a ceiling and a floor, they just make sense. Could you really see it in baseball?
Yeah, and look, there are varying opinions on that. Unless the way you would, if it were to ever happen in baseball, the amount of money that would be going, you would have to kind of offer the players so much money that you're basically blowing them away as a part of that cap system. The players in baseball the union has always been opposed to it. And this current leadership group, that remains the case. And look, they have good reason for it. Historically, cap will help your lower middle class players. It will hurt your upper class players. But it is a complicated political issue in baseball. I don't know how else to put it. But presumably, to get there in the current environment, you would need, most people think, a year's missed games, maybe 2, maybe it bleeds into a second season. The damage you would cause to get there, in my view, is in no way worth it. Most of the owners, not most, but some of them would literally be dead by the time you played long enough in that cap system that you fought for to make back and make good on the damage you did. There's too much money in this sport right now for a long work stoppage when the entertainment landscape is so complicated and you feel good about baseball right now because of the pitch clock and Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani. If the players remain opposed and there's no reason to think that they're all of a sudden changing their minds, I can't see any world in which it's really worth it to the owners in an industry that's probably climbed over $12 billion in revenue this year.
Keep up the great work. I tell everybody, once again, subscribe to The Athletic. It's where you're going to get your best journalism in sports. You be well. We'll talk soon.
Thanks.
Evan Drellich from The Athletic did all that great stuff covering the Houston Astros. Good to have him on the program again. Hopefully we'll see him at the winter meetings. That just made me think of something. Isn't it amazing that the average player plays what? 2 to 3 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
The average player plays 2 to 3 years. And yet, the Players Association has so much power. Like, we replace the great players with more players. We always replace them. So it's like their worries. It's amazing our business is so worried about the employees who we're going to replace constantly anyway. Right?
Yeah. Makes sense.
Now, when you hear people talk about it, players are never going to go for that. You go, what? Who cares? This group of players is going to be gone in a couple of years anyway. People don't look at it that way. We look at the players like, oh my God, the player. Like players, what? They're the employees. Players no one's played forever. There's always a new group. Guess what? Michael Jordan doesn't play anymore.
Tom Brady doesn't play anymore.
Tom Brady doesn't play anymore. And those are your stars of stars. We're always talking about what the players want. At some point, it's just crazy to me. It's just the NFL broke their players and it made the game. Like he said, and I've told you this stuff for years, and he just backed it up. What the NFL did years ago is brilliant. They came together. It flourished their game. They broke their players union. And now we all sit here and we love the NFL more than ever. It was smart. Baseball didn't do it. They didn't have the guts to do it. And they still don't have the guts to do it. At some point, you got to tell the players, what are you worth? Maybe it is Juan Soto getting $600 million and then people realizing, wow, this guy's really not worth this money. Saying, we need a salary cap. Yeah, and you know what? All you guys that are only going to play 3, 4, 5 years, you're going to make way more money in a salary cap than you are in this system. Because right now, this system, you have to play 6 years before your free agency. Now we're going to give you money right out of the gate. If you could sell the majority of the players, because what not having a cap does, it just allows the big boys to get ridiculously large contracts. Juan Soto, Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout. Well, guess what? 98% of you will never see that money anyway. You're never going to get a contract like that. So why don't we say the 98, 97%, we're going to flush you with cash. Let's get rid of this system, have a salary cap. We'll have a floor to make sure you all get paid. You all will make more money. Now, the agents are going to fight that because they always want to get the top dollar because that's how they make more money. But at some point as a player, I just think if I was a player and I'm a okay player and I'm going to make more money under the salary cap than the system I'm in now, because right now, how many guys are like, I always have to go to a bigger market to make more money? That wouldn't be the case anymore. You could make the same amount of money in Tampa as you do in New York because you'd be in a salary cap system and Tampa would have to spend. The A's would have to spend. Miami would have to spend. Hockey now. You see it in hockey. Players make more money in hockey, certain players, because teams have a floor. They have to spend the money.
We were just talking about that last night. We're during the Sharks game on the group chat.
My hockey expert.
Yeah, your hockey expert and I were on, and you were talking, and we're talking about Alexander Wenberg, who the Sharks signed late in free agency, and they did it because they had to get above the salary floor. And yeah, he might have got more money than he was probably worth. He's been good for the Sharks so far, but that was a guy they signed for more money to get above the floor and for the salary cap.
You would have guys like this in baseball. I'm now going to get X amount of money because all 30 teams have to be here. I mean, why would you guys all worry about Trout and Lindor and Machado and Nando? That's like the 1-2% of the game. You guys sacrifice. It's like everybody in the game sacrifices so the top so those guys can make that money. You're never making that money. We could go down the list of everybody in baseball. We used 855 pitchers last year. Is everybody making 600 million, 300 million?
Not even close. I don't even know if half the guys make anywhere near that combined.
We used 855 pitchers last year. Don't all of you want to make more money? You're going to sacrifice your money so that these other guys, so the Scott Boras, the tide raises all boats. It's bogus. You've got a bunch of teams who are cutting payroll this year. Would they be able to cut if there was a floor? You make the floor pretty high, and you make the ceiling lower. So Scott Boras doesn't like it, but at least 90, I'll go to 90%. 90% of you will all make more money. Why are you worried about the 10%? That 10%. Does Mike Trout cut a check to everybody for getting his contract?
I don't think so, no.
No. That's like the business side. I mean, I'm not the brightest business guy in the world. I'm not trying to, but it's pretty obvious how this works. Tell you what, if our industry worked like that, I'd be like, I want to make as much money as I possibly can. Am I worried about what Bob Costas makes? No. Cap Bob Costas and pay us more.
Yeah, like what would you say would be the number you would say for the salary floor for baseball? 80, 100 million?
No, well over 100. Well over 100.
I think 100 is where you start the
No,
negotiation. No,
well
like you start at 100 and work your way up, like where you want to put it.
If you're in negotiations, yeah. Well, yeah, well, 50. The players are going to be like, no. 80, no. I mean, I'm saying like 120. Can you imagine how different baseball would be if everybody had to spend 120? That was the floor, like hockey.
Yeah, I forgot what hockey's floor is. I think it's around like 55 or 60 million.
But that's
somewhere
what I'm saying.
in there.
Like everybody's floor is 120. Now, the majority of the game, everybody's making more money. But you're capping the best players? Well, too bad. That's like the 2-3% of the game. Evan Drellich, and I think Evan, his work in the game has been fantastic. And like we said, we've been having him on since he was covering the Astros with the Houston Chronicle. And from his time covering the Astros, he's learned so much and now does a great job with the Athletic. Do we have Jay? Jay, welcome back to Ace Cast Live. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Wonderful. It's the Hall of Fame ballot comes out. I mean, everybody thinks about you with the Hall of Fame votes. This is always a great time of year.
Yeah, no, it's fun. I'm glad my work gets the attention that it does at this time of year. It's very rewarding and gratifying to see that people enjoy the stuff that I'm doing, and to see that it actually has an effect on what we see when it comes to the outcomes of the votes.
When you first really got into this, did you realize the power your voice could have in these selections? Because this is a big deal. This is about these guys' legacies, just not now, but it's about your legacy forever.
Yeah, it was not something that I envisioned. I mean, I started this in 2000, and I guess my first Hall of Fame ballot that I broke down was 2002. That was pre-Jaws. The first one I did Jaws was 2004. So we just passed the 20th anniversary back in January. It was behind the paywall at Baseball Prospectus that they really did not have the means of even creating a leaderboard, or no, the resources. Not means. They did not have the resources to devote creating the leaderboards that would have even helped voters other than outside my articles. It was really moving to Baseball Reference and getting a chance to share it on the largest stat site. That enabled it to take off and become a common reference point. And that was like 9 years into it. But it's really gratifying that people read the stuff, that vote, excuse me, that voters read the stuff. Because I'm in the position I'm in, it's not a responsibility I take lightly.
And it's such a big deal, and a lot of us care a lot about it. And if you've never been to Cooperstown, you got to get there, because as a baseball fan, the town is incredible. I always call it like a little mini Lake Tahoe, and it's just beautiful. And the Baseball Hall of Fame is a place you can spend a lot of time. It's tough to get to, but it's well worth it. It's well worth it to visit it. I always think it should be really hard. I think it should be hard to get in. It's the greats of the greats. I don't love how the Pro Football Hall of Fame does it in Canton, Ohio. Where do you stand on someone who's dedicated so much of your career to this? Are you what we call a small hall guy, or would you be more of a big hall guy? Where do you stand?
I'm not sure. I think there are people who get the impression that I'm a large hall guy. What I have shown with my work is that we are actually electing fewer players per team. When you account for the size, for league size and expansion and all that, we are electing fewer players per team per league, or per team per year is the metric that I use, than we were 50 years ago. We tend to be pretty stingy with the Hall of Fame votes, and I think that part of it is just it's so difficult for most people to account for the changes in play that have such influence and make it hard to compare across eras. I mean, we're seeing this now with the diminishing workloads of starting pitchers. I think that some people get the impression that I am a large hall guy because we have voted in 22 players over a 7-year span. That stretch kind of ended a couple years ago. And then we got a bit of a slowdown, but at the same time, there are a ton of 70s stars that looked like they were hall bound that never got there, that the writers originally were pretty lukewarm on. I'm thinking guys like Steve Garvey and Dave Parker, who are now on the era committee ballot. Everybody assumed they'd be Hall of Famers, and they don't stack up in the advanced metrics. Not that the writers were going on by the advanced metrics when they were voting on them, their candidacies originally, but so it's never the right size for whoever's ox is being gored. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. You mentioned the pitching, and I talk about it all the time. I've done a lot of television with the great Dave Stewart.
Sure.
And Dave Stewart, not only was he a great pitcher, Dave Stewart was a pitching coach. He was a general manager, and we talk a lot about the future of starting pitching. And there will be a point, unfortunately, unless I'm just going to go with how things are trending. We 2 years ago, we used 863 pitchers. This year, we used 855 in Major League Baseball. I mean, there's not enough human beings qualified to really pitch a Major League Baseball. The numbers are crazy, but the numbers are going down. And volume, essentially volume, which we've always looked at with Hall of Fame, volume is going down. So like in 10 years, if we don't have anyone throwing 200 innings, you don't have strikeouts. You don't have, I don't know. How will we judge starting pitchers? Do you have any idea? Have you thought about this? How will we
I lie awake at nights thinking about this stuff. I have tried the hard thing about all of this is that once you kind of lower the workload threshold, 200 wins is, I think, an okay proxy. 3,000 innings is, I think, probably a better proxy. We're seeing even the best pitchers of this era are going to fall short of 3,000 innings, I think, and they're just not going to have the bulk stats. They're not going to have 200 wins. I mean, I think the only active pitcher right now who has even like a coin flip odds of getting to 200 wins is Garrett Cole. Mm-hmm. You look at who might be Hall worthy from among these starters, and it's Garrett Cole, and I don't know how you make a case for anybody else yet. I mean, maybe Paul Skeens, maybe Spencer Strider, maybe these guys, their arms hold up together, but you're not going to bet on that right now, given the propensity for arm injuries that we see. You go back to connect it back to this ballot. CC Sabathia is a first-time eligible. He won 250 games. He struck out over 3,000 guys. Even he's a little bit short of the Jaws standard at the position right now. But we are not going to see anybody top him besides the 3 active and 1 kind of in limbo guy. I'm thinking Verlander, Scherzer, Kershaw, and then Zach Greinke. Those guys are slam dunk Hall of Famers. But after, from between Sabathia and those guys, the next Hall of Fame starting pitcher is a complete mystery. It's probably Garrett Cole. But we are so far off from that there's just nobody you figure is going to have a real shot at it. And, they're just not going to have the numbers that make a case that voters are, going to take too quickly. I mean, I think back, Johan Santana with his 12-year career and 2 Cy Youngs, he didn't even make it to a second ballot. So there's a whole lot of shorter career pitchers going back 30 years. I'm thinking like Dave Stieb, David Cohn, guys like that who have careers that are going to be kind of equivalent to some of the guys we've already bypassed. I don't know how you even equity is the word I would use. How you even make an equitable standard that reflects what we're going to see now when we've got, the Cohns and Saberhagens and Steebs that fell by the wayside and didn't even get a second sniff on the ballot in some of those cases.
You make me think of 2 things with that answer. One is if we're diminishing starting pitchers, means we're pitching bullpen guys more than ever before. They're eating up more innings than ever before. We look at the postseason, the value of the bullpen. Do we need to change? And taking that to this ballot, a guy like Billy Wagner, you got K-Rod. Do we need to rethink the way we see the relievers and in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, look, when I started doing this, Dennis Eckersley was a first-year candidate. The first Jaws class that I did, which was the 2004 ballot. He was the third reliever in the Hall of Fame. Before that, it was Hoyt Wilhelm and Raleigh Fingers. Now Wagner is poised to become the ninth. It's very slow growth there. But even you look at Billy Wagner's body of work, it's 903 innings. Andy Pettit and CC Sabathia threw about 4 times as many innings. And on a certain level, it becomes a little difficult because you're not going to get even a lot of these closers getting to 900 innings or 1,000 innings, and they're not as valuable as the starting pitchers that I think are maybe look like they're short because they gave up a lot of runs. Andy Pettit being a good example. Tim Hudson, a guy who already fell off the ballot. Mark Burley, a guy who's gotten no traction in 3 years on the ballot. On a certain level, it's kind of hard to justify voting for K-Rod but not Mark Burley or something like that, when K-Rod does not measure up particularly well among relievers, and Burley doesn't stick out too much among starting pitchers, except within his own era. And that's where we maybe need to rethink this a little bit more.
Yeah, we're talking about how the game changes, essentially how baseball uses its personnel. It's like, does Jaws have to change as baseball changes the way it uses its players?
Well, it's interesting. I've already actually adapted a couple of methodologies, one for starters, one for relievers, that I think at least have partially addressed what we've seen. In that by traditional Jaws, which is just career WAR and peak WAR, wins above replacement. These we're having a harder time finding guys from this era who measure up. When you look at for relievers, for example, when you include win probability added in the sauce, which is a different measure of and kind of a stress measure, you start to take into account like late game leverage. That's where Wagner really stands out and becomes the best available reliever outside the Hall when you account for that. But even like then a K-Rod is falling short of that. We're waiting on like the likes of Kenley Jansen and Craig Kimbrell, who are demonstrating how hard it is to even have a Billy Wagner level career. With starting pitchers, I've already done something that kind of helps moderate the impact of those guys throwing 300 plus innings, from the dead ball era or the 19th century or even the 60s, to try to dial it down. And there's mechanisms in there that we could probably do that a little bit more to once the disappearance of the 200 inning pitcher is accounted for. But I don't have a perfect solution for it. But Jaws, I think I have proven that Jaws is at least somewhat adaptable here, and that's probably why it's still, the leading Hall of Fame metric for people who want to go there.
When you watch, like we just had an election, and you have all the networks and they bring their pollsters on, do you feel like one of those guys when it becomes time and we're putting you on MLB Network and there you are and talking about Jaws? When you watch the election, you go, I feel like those guys, because that's what because when it becomes Hall of Fame time and the announcement, here you come and all your projections and everything, is that how you feel during Hall of Fame announcement?
Not really, because I'm more involved, what's his name? Steve Kornacki. I'm more involved in explaining to the audience, whether it's just Fangraphs readers, by which I mean not just our regular membership, but anybody who comes around to read this stuff during the ballot season, and which is I think a wider audience, and also voters, which is in part who I'm aiming this at. I'm trying to explain to them the pros and cons of each candidate. I'm not really in the prediction business. I do a predictive column, kind of a 5-year outlook at the end of each cycle, and I will opine on who I think is going to make it just before we get the results. But I am looking to the people who are more attuned to the ballot collection stuff, like Ryan Thibodeau and his ballot tracker team, and also Jason Sarsdale, who's the best of the predictors with his probabilistic models. I'm looking to them. They're kind of the Steve Kornacki's of this, that are telling us who's going to get the call on election day. And if I'm making a prediction, it is by citing them and their work rather than my own. I'll tell you who I think should get in, but I will turn to them to see who is going to get in.
So as a man who's covered this game for a long time, and as you've said, it means a lot to your career, I think we can all say Ichiro Suzuki, welcome to Cooperstown. We saw him for so many years, saw his first game. Dave Niehaus with the great call. It's like something out of Star Wars. I mean, he was such a special, special player. So we know Ichiro's going in. Who do you think will join him?
Wagner, I think, is pretty much I don't want to jinx anything, but I think he's things are looking good. When you think about just over the past decade, we've seen 3 other guys take their candidacies to the 10th year and then get elected. Then Tim Raines, Edgar Martinez, Larry Walker, all of them were, I think, part of the Stathead Darling group that I think has the stamp of the work that I do and the work that the advanced statistical community in general has favored. And all of them were further from 75% when they went into that 10th cycle. And so those, the ballot counting was a little bit nerve wracking, a little bit nail biting. Wagner missed by 5 votes last year. He's, I think he's going to be easily get across that line. I think that's something to look forward to. I think the question really to me is whether CC Sabathia also gets in. Like I said, he's got some very good credentials. He's got a little bit of shortages here and there. In terms of, I think mostly it's like the ERA is maybe a little bit higher than we're used to seeing for a Hall of Fame pitcher. And that might be a bit of a drag on his candidacy. But I think people will come around soon on that. I just don't know if it's going to be this year. I've said this before, but I've long predicted he would get in within 3 years. And I think he'll set himself up with at least 50% of the vote this year, which is pretty much a predictor of future election. Whether the voters will close ranks and give him the boost he needs all the way to 75%, I want to wait and see what happens with the early returns in the ballots before I go out on that limb.
Still no Beltran?
He's too far away to get it. 57%. That's the kind of jump you only see when there's urgency to a candidacy, like 10th year type of thing. But 57% is definitely a guy who's on the path. Likewise, Andrew Jones, 61 point something %. He's going to be a guy who I think it comes down to the 10th year for as well. He's in his 8th year right now. And I think it's going to be, 5 points at a time, year over year gains. That'll do the job. But especially when you've got already a crowd atop the ballot, these obvious, or at least one obvious first ballot guy, one obvious holdover guy, it's very hard to make those leaps. When we've seen those leaps in recent years, it's because there's sort of a vacuum at the top. Guy like Scott Rowland or Larry Walker gaining 50 or 20 or 20, 15 or 20 points, when there's when it's not so crowded. Larry Walker gained about 20 points, and Derek Jeter was the only other one elected that year. Scott Rowland was the only one elected in the year. He gained about 15 points to get in. So that's what produces the more the larger jumps across 75%. So I don't think Beltran or Jones are particularly well positioned for that this year.
Well, I got to tell you, we love talking about the Baseball Hall of Fame. Thank you for everything you do. You shine such a huge spotlight on it and bring so much to how these players get in and the process, and makes it a lot of fun, especially for the offseason when everybody's off to the NFL or the NBA or hockey. We're still talking about it in baseball. You're a big part of that. So thank you so much. We appreciate it. Are you going to be at the winter meetings?
I will. Yes, I will.
We will see you there.
All right. Be sure to say hi, and we'll catch up.
Be well. Thank you. Always appreciate the time.
Okay. Take care, guys.
Yeah, he does an outstanding job covering the Hall of Fame. Jay Jaffe's been doing it for a long time. He reminds me of those guys like on election night, right, who have all the answers, who know way more than we do. Do you feel better about that? Your guy Billy Wagner getting in.
Yeah, I was.
I don't know why we call him your guy. He never played for your team.
No, I just always liked him. Since we've been doing this, I thought he should have been in the Hall of Fame, but it'll be nice to see him get in. Ichiro is my guy. I love Ichiro. Grew up loving Ichiro. I mean, I have Ichiro memorabilia. I wanted to actually go to Cooperstown to see him go in. I've been to Cooperstown after the McGuire-Sosa home run race. That was the only time I've been there. As a kid, I was 10. Actually, I was 9 going on 10. So I'd love to go back now as a 36-year-old adult to see one of my favorite baseball players go in. Don't know if I'm going to make that happen, but we'll try. I'm interested. You better
start making plans.
Well, yeah, it's during the season, so it's a weekend.
Because having been to I went when George Brett, Nolan Ryan, Robin Yount, and Orlando Cepeda went in. You got to plan. If you're going Hall of Fame week, induction weekend, to get a room, to get fly, I mean, you got to plan early.
The only thing
that's not a, hey, do you want to go? Let's plan this 2 weeks before.
Yeah, I think if I did it,
or you're staying in Albany.
We stay far away and drive because it's not that far. It's not that far of a drive from Western
Albany
PA.
is like what 45 minutes. The capital of New York, by the way. Albany, as my old roommate who was from the Albany, New York. It's about 45, something like that.
So the classic baseball era committee, the announcement's on the 8th. We can actually talk at the winter meetings that we see Susan. Susan Slusser is one of the historians is made up for that ballot. The criteria for it is you have to play 10 seasons, manage or umpire in the majors for 10 seasons, then be retired for 5. Been retired for 5 years as a baseball executive, not on baseball's ineligible list. Here's the guys that are on the ballot, and you can tell. We'll go over and real quick who we think could get in: Dick Allen, Ken Boyer, John Donaldson,
not Josh,
John, Steve Garvey, Dave Parker, Vic Harris, Tommy John, and Louis Tiant.
How was Tommy John? I mean, Tommy John needs to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. This is ridiculous.
I agree. Not surgery, yes. But if you look at his numbers, 288 wins, like 187, 188
and the
no
surgery,
decisions.
the whole baseball life, Tommy John should be in.
He should be in. I definitely think that Dave Parker should be in.
I'm okay with Garvey. Garvey was a star.
I'm fine with Garvey.
Put it this way. When we get to this level, we're not necessarily going on total numbers here. When you're in the Veterans Committee, we're not grinding you like you do when the guy's on the regular ballot.
Correct.
Right? So Steve Garvey, as a MVP champion, had the record for most consecutive games played in the National League, 200 hits all those years. I mean, you're not grinding him like, well, once you get to the Veterans Committee, you're kind of looking more, what's this guy a star player?
What's his ex-Wopa?
I mean, if you're grinding that,
I think.
But how about that? The thing with Jay Jaffe, which I understand the process. You got a better chance of getting the votes when you're about to go off. That's the whole thing. Are you a Hall of Famer or not?
Yeah, that's what Billy Wagner's facing. He's he's on the 10th ballot right now.
And now he's a Hall of Famer, but he wasn't a Hall of Famer 5 years. That's where that's where the voters, these Baseball Writers Association people, they are flawed.
How do you not vote for a guy 5 years ago, but all of a sudden, you know what? I went back and looked, and he hasn't pitched, so the numbers haven't changed.
He's going off the bat. It's ridiculous. And then, the question, I think it's a real fair question. If you're telling me starting pitchers are not going to have the numbers, and we know all relievers are pitching now, we got to look at relievers differently. If you're telling me relievers are more important than ever before, we have to start looking at relievers. Like, I'm not a big K-Rod fan, but I look at his, it's like, what did you say? Billy Wagner's only going to be the what? The
ninth reliever,
but we're saying relievers are the most important. Relievers, I look at every box score, relievers are more important than starters now.
Yeah, if you look at current relievers pitching in baseball, there's probably 2 of them that have a good case for the Hall of Fame right now.
Who?
Jansen and Kimbrel. They both have 4? They're both at 400 saves, I'm pretty sure.
When I say Craig Kimbrel, do you go, welcome to Cooperstown?
Yes
or no?
If I look at it from the reliever, I would say probably yes. If we're looking at relievers, yes.
Why?
Well, he's 400. And...
You don't give me saves. Don't give me stats. Is he a baseball star greatness? I say Craig Kimbrel. You say greatness?
Yeah, I think so. This is my opinion. I think so. Same with Kenley Jansen.
Greatness?
For this era, yeah. We can't compare it back to when Raleigh was pitching. Baseball is different then.
How about Eck?
We love comparing. Can't compare eras. Everyone says can't compare eras. Baseball
Who says that? Who says that?
Anytime we talk about
Who says that?
eras were different.
Who says that?
Anytime I hear people talk about the Hall of Fame.
I'm asking who. Don't give me generic people. Who says that? Dennis Eckersley was greatness. For God's sakes. Cy Young, MVP. He has the stat. I asked Craig Kimbrel, what's Craig Kimbrel got?
Rookie of the Year. He's won a World Series.
That's what I'm saying. Is Craig Kimbrel a star?
9-time All-Star.
Is he a star?
He's won a Reliever of the Year award once. Actually, twice.
Is he a star?
Actually, multiple times.
Kenley Jansen really a star?
I think it's where we get in the thing about where we talk about it goes to the stats. That's why these guys get in. When it comes to relievers, who's really? I mean, look at recently who's a star.
Billy Wagner was a star. Billy Wagner was known
Plus,
as.
he was throwing 100. Like almost, he was on 100 as a left-handed.
He was known lights out.
Yeah.
Billy Wagner, right? Dennis Eckersley, yes. I mean, look at all the relievers who have gone in. They were star players. Goose Gossage was a star. Mariano Rivera was a star. Trevor Hoffman was a star. Craig Kimbrel a star.
Who's the other relievers? Is Lee Smith?
That's where we're getting into Hall of Good.
Is Lee Smith in the Hall?
Yes.
Bruce Sutter's in the Hall of Fame.
Bruce Sutter was a star. He was the man. Is Craig Kimbrel the man?
Not anymore. His numbers last.
No, yeah, that's not fair. I mean, he's older. But I don't want to challenge you on that. I want to keep challenging everybody. Is that guy? Because you know why? I'm going to tell you why. This is who you just put in. And I hate to do this. Because it's not nice. It's not nice. But this is who you just put in. And this is where you are trending. And I'm damn saying you because you were all in on this guy getting in.
I mean, is this the former Tennessee quarterback?
Yeah. I mean, it's I'm going to show you why he should not be in. And everybody, because he's a good guy. Trust me. I did an interview with my buddy Larry Krueger. We went into the Rockies clubhouse at Pac Bell Park. I don't know if it was Pac Bell or AT&T.
SBC Global.
SBC Global, what they called it then. It was really noisy in there. Todd Helton goes, let's go outside. We went into the stands and did like a 20-minute interview with Todd Helton. I love Todd Helton. Awesome dude. So it's not one of these, he was. Todd Helton's a great guy.
I haven't looked at the stats. I haven't guessed, but I think I know what his road batting average was, just knowing off memory.
All right. What is it?
287.
Yep. What do you think his home was?
324.
345.
Wow. Okay.
Look at the discrepancy.
Wow. I mean, I know he was good at cores, but geez.
All right. How many home runs did he have at home?
315.
No, he had 227 at home. What do you think he had on the road?
127.
142. So if I times that times 2, so we take his road stats, which that's where he's playing in a normal place, he's got a whopping 284 career home runs. And you put that into the Hall of Fame. You want to know the difference in his RBIs? 859 at home, 547 on the road. But I can go to guys like Willie Mays. Willie Mays, I believe, had more RBIs on the road than he had at home. The great players had great numbers both home and road.
Plus, he played in a very.
Tony Gwynn hit like 343 at home and like 334 on the road. There's not a huge discrepancy. Perry Bonds hit more home runs on the road than he did at home.
That wasn't the argument you could make for Willie Mays. He could have had more home runs, but he played such a big ballpark back in the day.
Yeah, Willie Mays had more RBIs on the road. I mean, it's like Todd Helton clearly is a different player off the mountain.
Well, I mean,
and you put him in the Hall of Fame.
Same thing with Scott Rowland.
That is the point.
We put Rowland in for the defense.
We have to, if we're gonna make this truly the Hall of Fame and greatness, you have to question. Yeah, Craig Kimbrel really a Hall of Famer? Kenley Jansen really a Hall of Famer? I mean, you got Scott Rowland. I mean, when we got to really dig in deep, okay, they're going to get in, but some people still have to hold a standard.
I do agree with what Jay said, though, about starting pitching, about how they're going to have to rework we've talked about reworking the criteria. Like, yeah, Garrett Cole right now, because he's the next closest guy to 200 wins. Garrett Cole right now, and he's 34 now, right? Or is he 35? Garrett Cole is 30.
34.
34. He just turned 34. He has 153 career wins. So he needs to win 47 more games at age 34 to get to 200.
Where is he in strikeouts?
2,251.
Where is he in innings?
1,954.
Dude, he's not getting 3,000 innings. I mean,
I'm just going to see the
why is Garrett Cole a Hall of Famer?
After Cole, the next closest in wins that has a shot. No offense to Lance Lynn and Chris Sale, who just won his first Cy Young Award. ESPN wrote an article about how he, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. I don't see it for Chris Sale. Don't see him as a Hall of Famer. The next closest, if you're looking at age, to get to 200, Aaron Nola's at 104.
There's no one who's going to get to 200.
No.
They're not going to pitch enough.
And then the other guy is Jose Barrios. He's at 99 wins.
Wins come with innings pitched. Wins come with innings pitched. That's just volume. You got to have volume, and the volume's going down. So here's the thing. We're not going to be able to put any starters into the Hall of Fame, and people don't want to even put relievers into the Hall of Fame. So what do we do?
Yeah, I mean, you have to reevaluate all that.
But what's funny is people don't. Amelia Schimmel, I go round and round. Well, pitchers' wins don't matter. Well, bullpen guys, we don't even want to put bullpen guys in. I'm not a fan personally of K-Rod, but I don't know. You guys are into numbers. I mean, his numbers would say.
Does have the record. I mean, if you look at records, he has the record for most saves in a season.
And he's got a boat. How many does he have career? Where's he on the career list?
Let's see, all-time saves leaders. He's up there. K-Rod is actually behind both Kenley Jansen and Craig Kimbrell in career saves. He's sixth with 437. Kenley Jansen will probably pass Lee Smith for third all time, and then he will come nowhere sniff Trevor Hoffman or Mariano Rivera.
And these guys, I would bet you Jansen and Kimbrell had way more opportunities than most of those guys on that list.
Those guys also pitched more. They pitched in more games too, because they were able to pitch. This really was reviewed differently then. They weren't just 3-out guys.
These guys are 3-out guys.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Billy Wagner's 8th, 422.
Look at John Franco. Had an unbelievable career.
Yeah, he was great. Another great left-handed reliever. Back-to-back, 7-8 left-handed relievers.
Yeah, you're going to have to rethink pitching. We'll have opinion on it. We'll have no say, but you're going to have to rethink. You're going to have to rethink starters. You're going to have to rethink relievers, or nobody will be getting it.
And if you look at relievers who can come close to maybe 300 or more, I mean, Edwin Diaz is at 225, and then Josh Hader's at 199. If we're looking for just
I
saves.
would take Kenley Jansen over Craig Kimbrell. Who's got more? I don't know who has more saves. I'm just saying
Jansen has 7 more saves.
I would say whose numbers are better? Who's got like a better ERA?
I could do that for you real quick.
Career.
Give me a second. I like to do the side-by-side comparison, but Jansen's career ERA is 2.57. I think Kimbrell's was like somewhere right around there, like 2.50. Kimbrell's career ERA is 2.59. Kimbrell has a higher WAR, barely.
That's the thing. It's like WAR and pitching. It's kind of like
Kimbrell has pitched in about 60 less innings, but he has, let's say, he has 7 less saves than he has. Kimbrell's 1,265 strikeouts. Jansen has 1,221. I mean, they're pretty close, except for what are their ages? I think Kimbrell's actually younger. Kimbrell's a year younger than Jansen.
Jansen was pretty dominant, man. Jansen was,
and he's a former catcher.
He was pretty unhittable.
I mean, he even had 27 saves this year.
Yeah.
After that, I don't know who we talk about reliever-wise at Hall of Fame.
Pete Fairbanks?
Hader?
And where does Hader rank up in saves?
199.
Oh, my God. He's not even close.
And he's 30.
Oh, my God.
So
20 years from now, we're not going to put any pitchers in unless we completely change. If we basically wash away all of our thoughts of what a Hall of Fame pitcher will be, that's the only way pitchers will get in, because no one's going to have any volume. The way we utilize personnel today.
No, I totally agree. And I think that if Jay Jaffe mentioned that Zach Greinke is a slam dunk Hall of Famer, and he'll probably get in on the first ballot when he's eligible. But I think that if he would have gotten to the 3,000 strikeout threshold, I think he's only like 20 away or 25 away from it. That would have helped him out even more. But he's not going to get there. I mean, he didn't pitch at all last year. All he needed was how many did he end up finishing? He's at 2,000, and Zach Greinke's he has 2,907. He needs 21 strikeouts to get to 3,000 career strikeouts, which usually I'm pretty sure every guy has 3,000 or more strikeouts is in the Hall of Fame, except for Roger Clemens. Right? Everyone else is in. Burt Blyleven, Maddox, CC will most likely be in.
Yeah, to me, CC should go in. Now, if he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, to me, it's the old pick and boogers. CC Sabathia should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. There's no question. All right, so we'll end on this. Seth Brown is back, avoided our arbitration. We had Denzel Clark, Gunnar Hoagland, and who else was added to the 40-man?
Ryan Cusick.
Any other A's news?
No, not right now.
We covered Baseball Hall of Fame. I think the Evan Drellich stuff is fascinating.
Yeah, the TV stuff is. Yeah.
The next few years, the business of baseball, television streaming in baseball, which we've been in the streaming world. It's interesting. Why? I mean, obviously, what we created here has kind of been trying to show you what the future. Really looking forward to all of that, and I'm glad we covered that. Good job today. Have a great Thanksgiving. And Slow and your turkey trot. Everybody out there, you have a good Thanksgiving. When are we back? Is it winter meetings?
Winter meetings, yeah.
Remember, we'll be back for the winter meetings. We'll have the best guest list. What this guy does at the winter meetings, that's your best work. You're an off-season guy.
I'm like what do they say? I'm always working the phone. I'm like an agent working the phone while we're at the winter meetings.
You're like you're like a Scott Boras guy at the winter meeting. We'll be in Dallas, Texas for the winter meetings. It's going to be great. We will have managers, agents, front office people, players, A's, former A's, David Force, Mark Kotze. We will have so many people.
Thank you for saying I have to email our guys, Rajay and Dan Otero, when they're there.
We end up, it's crazy. How many, we interview so many people for a couple of days. It's insane.
Yeah. I forget the number we did last year, but it was like 30 or 40 something people we did in 3 days.
Yeah. We will have you covered from the winter meetings right here on A's Cast Live. But more importantly, enjoy Thanksgiving, enjoy family, enjoy friends, enjoy some time off. We all need a little break. A little time off. What's the one thing that you enjoy most food-wise at Thanksgiving? What's the one thing you got to have for it to be, this is Thanksgiving dinner?
Turkey's very chalk, so I'm going to go with
well, you do. Some people don't.
I know you and I talked.
People do ham.
Yeah, you and I talked about this at the Sharks game. I'm a big cranberry sauce guy.
You gotta have cranberry.
Gotta have the cranberry sauce. Yeah.
All right.
What about you?
My mother's stuffing.
Okay. Yeah, stuffing's usually a big one too.
Some people call it dressing, depending on where you live. I think that I was one time driving back from Lake Tahoe, early morning. I had to get back for this Raider game, pregame show. And I'd been with the guys gambling all night long Saturday night. I didn't have a lot of sleep. And I'm driving back from and the only station I could get was PBS coming out of Tahoe. And they brought this woman on to talk about food, Thanksgiving, the whole thing. And she explained, and I wish I remembered, but she explained why people say dressing versus stuffing, and it depends on where you live. But I need my mother's stuffing.
Okay. That's like it gets in the whole debate. We used to do this.
It's a family thing, right? It's a family recipe that's been in my family for a long time.
We're not going to do it today, but maybe another time we can get into the whole argument that we used to do at 95.7 is gravy a side or a condiment?
It's a condiment. How's it a side? You don't eat it. You pour it on top. Sides are things, if you go to a restaurant and you look at sides, it's stuff that you eat. You don't eat gravy. Gravy is put.
Oh, no, I agree with you. I bet it was always something that they wanted to talk about. No, I don't think not many people really said gravy was a side, but
gravy will never be listed on a menu as a side.
No, I'm not arguing it.
You can't argue. You can't argue for it.
Correct. You can't. I don't think you can, but
it's not.
Then we're going to debate.
It's not even a question.
Then we get into debate. Maybe
that's not a question. Anything that you just pour on top is not a side. Like if you have a menu and you have a side of fries, a side of mashed potatoes, a side of broccoli, they're sides. They're dishes that you order that you eat. That's a side.
Yeah, I don't eat gravy.
Ketchup, mustard, gravy,
Grey Poupon,
hot sauce. Those are all things that are not sides.
I agree. The other one is
that what I'm saying. You can't argue the other way. It's not a side. If something you just pour on food is not what we in the restaurant business, I'm in this business. You can't, that's not a side.
See, that's why you're the end all be all with that conversation.
Yeah, that's not a side. That's a condiment. Right? It's
maybe if we have some downtime to winter meetings.
Unless you take gravy and you order a boat of gravy and you just drink the gravy.
There are people that do that probably. I wouldn't say that I know anyone, but there are people.
Are you a gravy person?
I don't use it all the time, but I will use it like at Thanksgiving.
I love gravy.
Will I go to my way?
Do you get it made from scratch, like from the turkey drippings, or do you do it out of a jar?
I don't know what my family does.
Oh wow!
I don't pay attention.
How do you like your turkey? Do you want it in the oven? Do you want it fried, or do you want it smoked?
Usually,
or do you want it like grilled?
Usually, we do it in the oven. That's what we've always done. I don't have a smoker, so I can't do that. I'd love to do that.
When I first got married, the turkey fryer almost burnt down my condo when I first got married. Yeah, I was that guy. I could have been on Instagram or YouTube or TikTok as the guy that burnt down the house. I almost was that guy. Because no matter what, you can put that turkey in the fridge. There's so much moisture still in the turkey, and when you put that oil and water and you put it in there, oh my God. And I went as slow as I possibly could, and it still went out. It's crazy. That's it. Deep fried turkey is phenomenal, but dangerous as hell to do. Now, because you have a condo, it's a backyard. Now, if you got an extension cord, put it way out and put it in. Got to have the glove and bring it down. You're good. But people burn down homes frying turkeys. But fried turkey is delicious. But people will tell you don't get the drippings to be able to make your gravy.
Okay, I can see that.
I smoke my turkey, by the way. And I do a prime beef tenderloin Chateaubriand, which everybody loves. They're basically prime fillets. Chop them up into prime fillets. Then me and my best friend, we like turkey. My grandmother, who was from the Midwest, we used to have these huge family up in I say up because I was coming from San Diego. We now say down in San Bernardino. My grandmother had this huge house and could fit amazing amount of people in it. And we had all this family. And she'd do turkey, but my grandmother did ham.
Oh, interesting.
She loved ham. My grandfather loved ham.
We do that for like the holiday season on Christmas.
You a ham guy?
It's another one. Like I don't want to eat it all the time, but I'll eat like a.
You don't like ham sandwiches?
No, I do, but like I go back and forth between that and turkey. Yeah. Sometimes I do both.
I love ham. Turkey, dark or white meat?
I do more white. I could do both.
I'm dark. I'm dark. And it'd be interesting to, too, if we open up the phone lines, which we don't have. If we open up the phone lines
833-6
and everybody's family's traditions, because everybody's got their own quirky family traditions that have been passed down. Like, it's amazing what people will put in stuffing. And you put that in stuffing. Like, people put oysters in stuffing.
I'm out.
Oh, yeah, you're not a seafood guy. I don't want it in my stuffing, but that's like a family tradition for people to have oysters in their stuffing.
And when I'm out,
I'm out. We're out. Thank you, everybody. We miss all of you. We just want to, pop on, give you a little baseball. Not forget that baseball is still around. They've told us we're making news. Unfortunately, it seems that you are more into the Rule 5 draft this year than our own front office.
Yeah, I had that conversation.
Can you report that?
No,
are you reporting that?
This is off the record, but I did talk to David Forrest about the Rule 5 draft. I said I have my list ready.
He doesn't have one.
So we'll see. That's what he told me. Who knows? He probably does have one. He probably is just leading me on. Then we talked free agency. It was great.
Hey, if you don't think the Rule 5 matters, let me present Mitchie's spin rate, Mitch Spence. Mitch Spence was huge for the A's this year. Rule 5 guy. Rule 5 matters. You can find some really good players. Ryan Noda was a good Rule 5 guy.
Mark Hanna.
Ryan Noda went to Cincy?
I thought it was Anaheim. Is he an Angel?
Is he an Angel?
Yeah, he's originally from Cincinnati.
Oh, that's right. He's an Angel now?
Yeah.
God bless him. I love Ryan Noda. All the power to him.
Tom Washington. Tom hard to play first base. It's incredibly hard.
Ryan Noda's a super dude. Hey, he'll be a friend of the program. Easy to get on.
Yeah, for sure.
But that'll do it for A's Cast Live. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. And we'll see you next live from Dallas, Texas for the winter meetings. We'll have you covered everything in Major League Baseball. Where does Juan Soto sign? I don't know. Who's getting traded? Who's getting signed? The business of baseball. It's where the entire industry comes together and we meet. And a bunch of Mike Farron is drunk the whole time, chatting everybody up. It's crazy.
He works the room better than Farron at the
Oh,
meetings.
my, sweating. I mean, he's working it
Also
like
true.
nobody else.
Also true.
All right, everybody. We'll see you in Dallas. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you next time right here on A's Cast Live.
This is Commander Cody, and fall is upon us, and Linksole has dropped their new fall line. New pants fit for a more custom experience with elevated layers and performance polos to help transition from season to season, no matter if you're wearing them out on the golf course, out to dinner, or just hanging out with friends. Some effortless looks to help you find the right look and feel for any occasion. Go to their website, linksole.com. That's linksole.com, and find out how you can unlock 20% off your next order. Remember, in the big leagues, to play good, you got to look good.
This has been a presentation of The Athletics.